They didn't just break your heart. They shattered the story you clung to, the one where love was enough, where you were finally seen, where pain had a purpose. And now you're left with the truth. It was never about them. It was about everything you gave away just to feel like you were enough. I'm Carl Jung, and in this video I will reveal to you how to mentally and emotionally detach from someone, not through coldness or resentment, but through awakening, through psychological transformation, through the sacred act of returning to yourself. Because detachment isn't a process of forgetting them, it's the journey of finally remembering who you are without them. You check your phone again. It's been hours, no reply, and still you wait, not for the text, but for the validation it carries. Because when they respond, you feel like you matter. And when they don't, your world begins to fracture, your breath shortens, your thoughts spiral, and you begin to replay everything you said, wondering, did I say too much or not enough? That ache in your chest, the one that creeps in when they go quiet, that's not love. That's anxiety dressed as devotion. That's your nervous system begging for stability, not romance. You tell yourself this is passion. But real love shouldn't feel like walking on a minefield, like every step might trigger an explosion. Real love doesn't make you question your worth. It doesn't leave you on edge, constantly decoding silence. It doesn't ask you to shrink just to be tolerated. What you're feeling isn't soul connection. It's survival mode, and you've confused the two for too long. Carl Jung once said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain. This ache, this quiet unraveling is your coming, the breaking down of illusion. Because detachment isn't about removing them from your heart. It's about removing the illusion that they were ever the source of your worth. Letting go doesn't hurt because they were your soulmate. It hurts because they were the distraction from yourself. You didn't just lose someone. You lost the version of you who believed their love would save you. You lost the story, the one where, if you just tried harder, bent further, stayed quieter, they'd stay. But they didn't. And now you're left not with a person, but with a mirror. This isn't about moving on from them. It's about finally meeting the person you became while trying not to lose them, a version of you don't even recognize anymore. One built on performing, pleasing, enduring. You see, you weren't taught unconditional love. You were taught to perform for it. Be quiet. Be helpful. Be everything they need you to be, or else they'll leave. So you did. You shaped yourself into 1,000 versions, all in hopes that this one might be lovable enough. But Jung reminds us, the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This pain, this heartbreak. This is your privilege, because it means the mask is cracking, and beneath it, the real you is waiting. Not the one who begged, not the one who chased, not the one who settled. The one who finally remembers that love shouldn't require your disappearance. You saw glimpses of who they could become, the soft moment after the argument, the apology that sounded real, the spark that made you believe, maybe this time, they've changed. But you weren't in love with them. You were in love with who they might have been. You fell for their potential, not their presence. Hope, when misplaced, is not loyalty. It's betrayal of yourself. Jung wrote, a projection is one of the commonest psychological phenomena. You projected who you needed them to be, onto someone who never asked to carry that weight. And now you're grieving someone who never existed. A dream, not a person. That's why it feels so confusing, because it's not just a breakup. It's a funeral for a future that only lived in your imagination. And detachment means accepting that your fantasy kept you stuck. It means facing the truth. They were never becoming you were. And now, finally, you stop holding space for someone who never had the capacity to grow into who you needed. You release the illusion. But the silence, the space they once filled, feels like a void. You think you're missing them, but really, you're meeting yourself. That aching emptiness, that's the part of you that was never whole to begin with. They didn't create it, they distracted you from it. And now you're face to face with the very thing you were using them to avoid. Your own unmet needs, your own fractured self. This is the part where most people run. Back to the chaos, back to the distraction, back to anything that numbs the sting of solitude. But Jung said only in solitude do we find ourselves, and this pain is sacred. Sit in it, feel it, don't escape, because every time you avoid discomfort, you delay your own rebirth. Yes, this hurts. Growth does. Awakening always does. Awakening always does. Waking up to the truth of who you are without their gaze to define you takes everything you've got. But if you can stay in the discomfort, if you can choose peace over performance, silence over chasing, you begin to hear something strange. A voice. Yours. Unfamiliar but real. You don't need to be rescued. You don't need to be chosen. You just need to come home. To yourself. There's a script in your mind. One written by trauma. It says love must hurt. That affection must be earned. That silence means you failed. You didn't choose this script. But you can choose to stop reading it. You rewrite it every time you say no without apologizing. Every time you ask for what you need. Every time you stop trying to convince someone to stay. Yes, it will feel wrong at first. That's because your nervous system is wired for survival, not self-worth. Not self-worth. But love that costs your peace isn't love. It's trauma reenactment. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is the moment you stop calling abandonment love. You stop calling anxiety passion. You stop mistaking inconsistency for chemistry, and you start calling respect the new standard, not just from others, but from yourself. There's a reason you keep searching for someone to complete you. It's because the parts of you that protect, nurture, feel, and act, your inner masculine and feminine, were never allowed to grow together. You gave away what you should have built inside. Jung spoke of the anima and animus, the masculine and feminine energies within each of us. But most of us were taught to favor one and reject the other, to push through but never pause, to give but never guard. And so we enter relationships not whole but fragmented, hoping someone else will carry what's missing. That's not love, that's dependency. You reclaim your power when you stop waiting to be rescued and become your own safe place, when you stop needing someone to hear you and finally listen to yourself. That's balance, not cold, not numb, just calm. When your masculine protects your feminine and your feminine softens your masculine, you don't chase love, you become it. And from that place, love is no longer a lifeline, it's a gift. Every time you choose chaos over calm, you abandon yourself. And you say, that's just how love is. But no, love shouldn't feel like decoding, like walking on glass, like begging. Love should feel like peace. And peace is not something you earn, it's something you choose every single time. So choose it, even if it means walking alone, even if your hands shake, even if your heart still calls their name. Choose it anyway. Jung said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes. Awakening isn't poetic, it's brutal, it's lonely, but it's the only path to true freedom. This is the part where everything changes. You stop waiting for closure. You become it. You stop trying to fix them. You start healing you. You've cried enough over people who couldn't love you. You've bent enough, begged enough, betrayed yourself enough. This isn't about them anymore. It's about you. It's about the you who finally says, I choose my peace. Say it. Out loud, in the comments, in the mirror, in your soul. Because peace is not the absence of love. It's the presence of self. One day you'll look back on this version of you, the one who begged, who hoped, who stayed too long, and you'll thank them. Because they broke open the door you were too afraid to walk through. This is your awakening. You are not a half. You are not a piece. You are not their echo. You are a whole voice, your own, and that is more than enough. Carl Jung said, your vision will become clear only when you look into your own heart. So stop looking for love outside. Start becoming it, right here, right now. And if you're ready to rise, not for them but for you, then write it below. I choose my peace. Let it echo. Let it mark this moment in time. And if you're ready to take the next step in your healing, watch the next video on your screen. This is Mosaic Mind. And if you're here, it's because your soul is done shrinking, done settling, done mistaking pain for love. You're not here to chase. You're here to awaken. Let's keep walking together.